Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind. We have survived another week on this earth, and we're still here. So, guess what? We're going to get right into it. Like, comment, and subscribe so that in case we survive another week, we can keep pushing that algorithm. All right, so let's get into it. Today, we are here to talk about Bobby's impromptu appearance on the media circuit. That's right. He is no longer doing the podcast circuit with Mr. Andrew Schultz. He is live in the flesh for those people who were in the room. But this year there was not the typical ice cream sandwiches that were handed out. It was a little bit more of a muted affair. It wasn't really a black tie affair for him. Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what Bobby had to say about your beloved Raptors. Because while we are Basketball Rewind, while we love basketball, you are probably here because you love the Raptors. But check out some other stuff too. What I will say is this: did you watch it at all, or I've written down the questions and the answers. So
I've watched just some highlights.
You've watched some highlights. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and I saw the synopsis we discussed about yesterday from some other folks. I'll leave it there, but
Yes.
yeah. I mean, Bobby's not really must-see TV. Let's put it that way. So it's not,
No. Paint drying could be more interesting, but hey, it's each their own. But I'll leave it at that. First things first is about the timing. I think that's an interesting thing to kind of talk about and kind of go towards. To me, the timing of this was odd, and you and I were talking about this briefly. This is before I had seen it, but I was just like, "What on earth? This is a random Friday afternoon that was not." Called for before. So, what did you think about the timing of this? And also, it's odd because while NBA Media Day is coming up and has already passed for certain teams like the Knicks and like the Pelicans, who are presumably going to be playing overseas teams fairly soon, which is why they did it early. It is not usually the president, he's not the president of basketball operations. Usually someone of his title level would be speaking during media day. What do you think about this?
I think this is one of the things I mentioned when he was up for the job and when he got the job.
If they were trying, sorry to interrupt, but if they were about saving money, they would have done it during media day. I'm just going to say that, but go on.
But I think this is one of the things that I said, that watch this space when it comes to Bobby in the media. He's not necessarily the most well, if you want to go from a pure consumable standpoint, he's not a great quote. That's one thing. Two, he has a very interesting way of being very glib at times, but sometimes that glibness may come off the wrong way and might ruffle some feathers. And three, I think he, in this case, I get the sense that he's not one to really want. He doesn't. I get the sense that he doesn't think media really is part of his job criteria. And what I mean by that is that it's more of a bit of a small nuisance. I think overall, like, he might have some of his favorite folks in this case here, and stuff like that. But I don't think he doesn't see that as like. I don't think he sees it as part of the actual requirements of the job.
You don't see it as his. You think that they realized it wasn't part of his core competencies.
Exactly. At least he doesn't view it that way. That's one of the reasons why. And I think sometimes you have to look at things. I mean, I know in this case here, political is a dirty word, especially these days. But if you look at it from a political lens, or even somehow in some type of way, like any type of crisis type of or elements in this case, or just even media, just basic media, which this is, when you do something on a Friday afternoon, in this case, I usually refer to that as the Friday dump. When you're trying to put something out, in this case here, where you really don't want it to be seen. And I'll just say, considering that it's a Friday afternoon, when the Jays are in the most pivotal series of the season, most of sports media and casual sports fans are not right now minding the Raptors in this case here. So if you really didn't want your news or want something to really get out there or what you're saying, this would be the ideal time to do it. So I'm just saying, if it was me and I really didn't really want to make a big fuss about me having a big media scrum,
right,
I would probably pick the day that is a Friday evening as the Jays are having their final series before the postseason, as they're fighting for the AL East pennant. Might be a good time to do it.
Right. I mean, well, if that's the case, you might as well have waited till next year and done it during the World Cup or something.
Well, y'all at least for a little while. Hey, don't put that past him. But well, stay tuned, as they say. Stay tuned. But
That's right. Middle of the World Cup,
right.
Canada's in
And don't
the
forget,
match. It's like, oh well, hey, just so you know, we're trading X, Y, and Z, and yeah, okay, gotta go, gotta go.
Exactly.
Get them tickets.
That's right. So we're doing Blue Jays stuff, and then we got Leafs kind of coming to the midway part of their preseason at the moment. The NHL season's around the corner. It's an ideal time to kind of just go underneath the radar. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I forgot. Yeah, the Leafs are already. I mean, it's their preseason form already, which is interesting. So, yeah, going to be staying tuned for that. Yeah, I mean, I on the other screen, I just wrote down all the different things. The first thing was obviously we just went through, but Eric Kareen just hit him right away, and he said, is everyone healthy? Yeah, that's the first question. And Bobby took a long sip. You can see he kind of like wanted to smirk behind the sip, but he said yes.
Okay.
And that was it. And it's like, is there anyone in particular that you're looking for? This is why I'm like, there's a little bit of like, I don't want to say that he's ornery, but like,
That's what I'm saying. I think in some ways, he finds the media a bit of a nuisance. That's me saying so. I'm not saying he's saying so.
Masai said that he felt that the media was a nuisance, but in some ways he also enjoyed it.
That's what I'm saying. He was the happy warrior. He was ready to go to battle with them. He saw it as a challenge. He came up with a very different thing.
Yeah.
So both of them might still. I mean, put it this way. Most guys that their thing, their type of level, they probably don't care for the media anyhow. Doesn't matter.
Which is understandable.
But there is different ways different folks approach it, right?
Yeah.
The New York guys pretty much have like a rash. They don't even want to talk to them.
Yeah.
Right? So the Knicks guys don't even talk to them. It's pretty much like they come out like every leap year. Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Now we will talk. So I mean, from that standpoint, I guess he's a better than the Knicks, which is like probably the worst scenario of actually getting their message across through the media. They don't feel like they need to. But at the same time, I agree with you. Like Masai found it as a bit of a jousting exercise.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it. So, and Masai did come up eventually at the very end. There's a couple back to back questions about Masai, and obviously, as he pointed out, it's like, I mean, the guy he's still with us, so he's just a phone call away. He did not word it like that, by the way. Hey, Bobby, if you want someone to handle media, I'll do the best that I can until I can't, because hopefully I'm off to better things than handling media for Bobby Webster. But yeah, so I mean, after that, of course, again, it was just such a blunt, but it was such an abrupt answer, no elaboration. Obviously, it was like, well, no. I mean, Eric pointed out, it's like, listen, there's been a lot of injuries that have been going on throughout the league. I mean, we just heard, sorry for the Sixers season, but when it rains, it pours. Was it Jared McCain? He's out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long he's out for, but it ain't good. It sucks.
That kid, look, he built out paper mache, man. I don't know what's going on with him, man. Like, geez, man. Like, that dude, he gave him string together, 2-3 weeks before he gets hurt again. Like that's not a good sign.
He can hoop, but he needs to find ways to get healthy.
Scoot's out now for a couple months now.
I didn't hear about Scoot, so I see broken news here on this, but
I think Scoot is like a leg injury, like a hamstring or something like that. Like Scoot's out for like a month or two.
Left hamstring tear. Wow. And then there was a Fred VanVleet and that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it was a valid question, and it wasn't treated like a valid question, but it's a valid question.
Well, yeah.
Not to mention, like, we have some concerns. Like, I mean, last year it was like we were going into training camp, and quickly is like, much to the chagrin of people that thought that it was just, like their aunt having arthritis. Well, he had a little bit more than arthritis.
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is where Toronto media sometimes, quite honestly, a little too polite.
They did a better job in this one, I'll say.
Fair enough, but like if this.
But I agree with you.
Right. A New York, Philadelphia journalist was asked quick, just be blunt about it. Is Brandon Ingram healthy? Because that's really the question we're asking without asking it.
That did come up
Right.
later. It went
Later.
from Kareem. Kareem kind of fell back a bit, but someone else was like, okay, so yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. But it forced their hand to have to do the follow-up when that should have been the first question in the first place. Stop playing around. We know what you're trying to get to. Is this dude healthy?
Yeah. For sure. And yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's a valid question, and I agree with you. So first question was, I know that you guys are prioritizing development. I think this is from Josh Lewinberg. So if I remember the person who said it, from just the voice memory stuff, then I'll say so. I know you guys are prioritizing growth and development, but it's fair to say that the results will matter more this year than the previous year. What are your expectations, and what does success look like to you? So his response was starting to talk about Darko's quotes of the day, of like winning the day and all that type of stuff. And this is where he kind of pulled back expectations. Instead of saying, yeah, we need to take a significant step forward, we need to really put our stamp on it and really need to do much better. He just said you want to see locked in and focus every single day. And he says he doesn't feel like having these big expectations is the best way to be building a group. Whether you agree with it or not, fair enough. I do think at some point, based on the tenure of some people on the roster who have been here longer than others, you should be putting expectations, at least on an internal basis. So that's what I would hope. But that was his answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's GM speak. It's fine. I mean, I think he's going to be a type of guy, and I think the media is feeling it out, kind of like when you watch the first couple of rounds of a prize fight. When the two boxers are kind of feeling each other out. And I think what they liked with Masai is that you could give Masai something, and Masai wouldn't just end the answer quickly. He's actually the exact opposite of Masai. Yeah, Masai will go on and will just go on to another tangent.
It's too nuanced to the point where it becomes doublespeak. This guy is just like, yes, no, cool.
Right.
Yes.
Or he'll talk himself into a corner where he gets into situations discussing about selfishness, right? That's how these things get called out, where you start kind of like expounding.
You talk too much, yeah.
Right. But you're not going to get that from Bobby.
Well, Brandon Bobby had a moment of that. We will get to it soon. He did have a moment of that. I don't know if you caught what do you think it was before we? Because I'm going in order, but yeah.
Well, I think you're talking about two particular players.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the next question was about BI. Outside of the paper stuff, what makes you think that he's a better fit on the roster? Basically, he kind of went to paper stuff, but yeah, he said he can get his own shot and he can get it on relative efficiency. He's a hooper. He doesn't really. And here is actually where he gave the interesting answer. Is he said, I think he said a poet's poet or whatever. And then he went to, he's a hooper's hooper. And then he went and talked about Brandon Ingram and what he likes about Brandon Ingram. It was very interesting because he said he doesn't really care about what's going on off the court or who's talking about him. He said he just wants to hoop.
That's what I was referring to.
Okay. I'm just checking. And then he mentioned, I don't know if he didn't do it on purpose. He just mentioned, he's like, yeah, we've had a guy on the team in the past that really cared about that sort of thing. I don't know who the heck he's talking about.
Okay. Well, I think I know who he's referring to.
Do you think it's?
Yeah. That guy. But it also could be a hint at somebody else.
Need
on the
money
team right now. So I put a post out today. It was actually related to the Ryder Cup, and there was a little brouhaha happened late in one of the matches, the 4-ball matches, and the European player who was pretty much kind of cursing the caddy of the American player. At the end, when they interviewed him, he said, "Oh yeah, man, I got a lot of respect for this Justin Rose." He goes, "I got a lot of respect for Scotty Scheffler and blah blah." Now he's playing with Bryson DeChambeau. Now, if you know Bryson DeChambeau, he has a way of rubbing guys the wrong way. So I tweeted out and said, sometimes it's what is not said is really what the truth is. In other words, he's good with Scotty Scheffler. The fact he mentioned Scotty Scheffler, he didn't mention DeChambeau. So going back to our friend Mr. Webster, the fact in this case here that he was putting it, I saw this as he might have mentioned someone else in this case here to cover himself. But I also think in this case he's also giving hints to some other individuals or individual on this team that might have rabbit ears once in a while. I was like, yo, man, like,
get off social media because I mean, and honestly, I mean, without people making our segment into a thing, it is important. I mean, social media is not good. We've seen the results of that recently in many ways, but also it's just like the way that people will talk to each other and stuff like it's like you don't need to be consuming all that. You really don't. You know, you're a multi-millionaire, whatever you are, whoever you are. Good for you. You don't need social media. That's like the least of your worries.
yeah. But I also got
Pay someone to pay ChatGPT to run your social media. Run up a good AI agent for you.
But the other thing I got the sense of that is like, the fact that he's talking about how, the Hooper part of it, talking about,
Yes.
him essentially doing work, right?
Yeah.
Is also, I think, a subliminal shot at.
We will get into that soon. The very next question was actually about Scotty and what was his message to Scotty in the offseason. He said, people that have a kid, they typically grow up. We'll see. You and I were tongue in cheek about it, but I said, like Ant-Man has 5. So I don't know if it's just an automatic thing, but yeah, of course. One would hope that when people have kids, they grow up and stuff like that. The list is long, man. The list of people in the world is long of that. But I digress. I mean, not to pick that apart. But yeah, he says that Scotty needs to keep leading. He said the scoring will come. But I surmised everything that he said because people, it's like the rebound and the this and that, all this type of stuff. The way that I read it as the scoring will come when he does the right thing on the court. Wow. In other words, the rebounding, the roll stuff. He talked about the key thing is defense, energy, and rebounding. And what have I always said? Scotty's best games are when he is an excellent rebounder. When he gets 10 plus rebounds a night, you're usually seeing a tick up in a lot of other things, a tick up in activity. So that's the case. So yeah.
I will say this, and I'll actually give props to Bobby Webster on this one. I'm still not sold completely, but I'll give him props on this. I think Bobby Webster might give a much more sobering assessment of Scotty Barnes than we had with the previous person that ran this team. And I think in some ways, some of the things he said, he hasn't said much, but some of the things he's said is kind of giving you a sense of like what he thinks of Scotty Barnes at the moment, or what his game's about, and what he really is about at the moment. He's not trying to put some type of cloak on him as something else. He's like, what was the first he said when we got Brandon Ingram? He
likes to shoot, Scotty likes to pass. And this is why when people come and say, well, I think that Scotty's going to average like way more points and like increase his point total by 5 points a night, I'm like, I don't think that that's in the plans according to the man who's in charge.
And I'll say this too, and I know everyone thinks it's a dirty word nowadays. I don't give a damn in this case here. I've said it once, I've said it twice, I've said it a million times. When it comes down to it, it comes down to maturity. Because what is the first point that Bobby Webster was talking about? Why is he bringing it up? The thing of being a family man now? Because in this case, he's telling you, yo, man, grow up.
Well, it's also, we're now entering year 5, and we'll get into this on another pod, but the key thing is we can't keep going into every single year saying, well, what is Scotty? You need to know what you are. And if we don't know what you are, as Darko even said, if you're trying to learn 5 different things, you're out the league. I'm not saying that it's going to be like that, but for him, I think he's talented enough to stay in the league no matter what. But to really rise to the point of the heights of which the biggest fans of his believe, where he can be an All-NBA player, let alone even a tier below that, All-Star, or even whatever, you need to, A, do the small stuff first and excel at those small things, but B, you have to be locked in and focused every single day, which is why he brought up the energy point, and Scotty himself has talked about these things himself. I
just hope in this case here that line of thinking in this case by Webster is like, we're done with the coddling phase now. It's like, it's like put up or shut up time a little bit now. Like that's
well, and it should be that way for everyone on the team.
I agree, but it's not like that for everybody on the team. Is my point.
It hasn't been. We'll say
well,
we are about to find out because I don't know.
All I could go with is what they've told me so far. What I've seen in this case here. That's all I'm saying. Like until I see otherwise, I have to go with what the assumption is. Now they got proven me differently, but we'll see. But
yeah, but either way, I mean, going beyond Scotty because he's just one component of the team. They did continue on, and they asked basically, you're coming off a 30-win team. I think this was Kareen. Coming off a 30-win team, is there any urgency to assess the team? So Bobby outlined from that. He said essentially that the chances of the team being the exact same by the end of the year are nil. 0. Nada. And that is interesting. I think that that's really good. Now, obviously, he also said that, you can come out of the tax with just one move, so it's nothing to really worry about. But the next question and answer kind of hints at who it could be, or both of these players at bare minimum. But either way, I think the point is that he didn't talk about buying. He didn't talk, in the past we've heard, ownership wants to really, if they're good enough, we'll invest in the team. I didn't hear any of that. It was like, if we need to come out of it, I can do it in one move. Okay.
Well, this goes back to my previous point. I'm like Missouri. Show me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Until I see otherwise, all this is a lot of talk. Until I see otherwise, I'm at the point now, Bobby. I don't care how you say it, phrase it. Just pull the trigger when the time comes.
Yeah,
we will see. But like at the moment, it's kind of for at least for me that falls on deaf ears till I see action. I'm like, you know what? You guys have played this card 4 million times. It's a different voice that's doing it this time. And until I see otherwise, I'm like, okay, whatever.
So there is a before we continue on with this, there are ways that this can be approached, and I think the way that Bobby is approaching this, to your point, it's not being aloof, but he's not painting himself in a picture. But also, I think what I've seen in discourse is people seem to confuse when someone says it's put up or shut up time, or talk, like I said the other day, I said talk is cheap. They're like, oh man, like the Raptors are going to be like top 1. I'm like, we've been having the same conversation since the season ended, more or less. People don't even talk about the rookie, as per usual, right? And it's like, we got to see what's on the court. That's not being overly negative. That's just, listen, unless you have a DeLorean, you ain't got nothing else to say. Like, at some point, you could analyze, but you're still analyzing off of film and stuff and data from the past. And to be fair, the stuff that we have in the past ain't too great, and so it doesn't really it doesn't give you much warm, fuzzy feeling, so we have to see.
More white papers.
Eventually, you hand in the paper, or you hope, and defend the thesis. So the next question, just to kind of get through some of these questions a little faster, is he basically suggested there's a question about contract extensions and conversations with players. And the way that he basically said is, we'll let things play out, and he was referring to 2 players in particular, and this is why it kind of, in terms of the order of operations of how it each thing led to the other, I think that does provide something that you can kind of glean from. And so that would be RJ and Ochai. And it sounds like there's going to be a decision. I mean, they're the obvious ones, but it sounds like there's going to be a decision that's made between at least those 2, for sure. He was asked about Darko, what to expect for this year. That was kind of like a non-answer. It was like, every single year you learn something new, so great. Okay, so then he did, one of the things that he did talk about, and one of the things that I think that we should talk about, hopefully if Coach is back soon, if not, we'll keep it moving, and one of us will cover his points. Basically, RJ, he pointed out that with Ingram can be more efficient, which is something that I've hinted at. And I think RJ has a pathway to be more efficient and has a lot of pathways to do that. Free throw line, you could be more efficient there. In terms of his driving and finishing, be more efficient there. He was an average catch and shoot three-point shooter. If he could tick that up a little bit, that's another place that he can do. He doesn't have to develop a huge mid-range game to be more efficient and a solid player in his role. So it was something that he talked about, and he said he expects a lot less attention given to RJ as a result of Ingram. So I thought that was a really good point. And that is the reason why Ingram's here. Any thoughts before I move on?
Not really. I mean, I think to your point, those things are things that could come quite easily, where it's just improving your free throw shooting. And knock down a few more jumpers when you're wide open. And I agree with Bobby Webster. Like, you would think that if Ingram's on the team, he will have a few more opportunities to get some more catch and shoot opportunities. And the look should be a bit cleaner, because now it's like there's going to be actually legitimate double teams at times on this team. If Ingram is like Ingram as the player he can be, he should be able to draw some double teams during certain points of the game. So, yeah.
And to be fair to Ingram, he has ran teams when they were suboptimal with guys in and out of the lineup.
Oh,
and he's done it decently. So I think I think it'll be very interesting. One of the things that he mentioned is he said he talked about RJ's value. Now there's several, and he talked about how like he could increase his value. Now there's several ways to look at that. You could say it as trade value, but I think it also coincides with his on-court value. Because his on-court value on this team, the more valuable he is, the more valuable he is to other teams as well as our team. So I think that those are things, not to read into it too much, but yeah. Now, without going every single thought, just a couple other answers that were interesting. We're close to the end. So yeah, Jamal apparently led one of the workouts in Houston. He was like, oh, you all know. I had no idea. I didn't know that Jamal was leading workout sessions in the offseason. To me, I thought it was supposed to be whether it's a coach or whatever leading it. I didn't know it was Jamal. So I thought that was interesting. We don't have to go too into it, but interesting footnote. I think finally he was asked about point blank by Sampson. What do you think about the roster in terms of the talent right now? Because it has dawned on Sampson recently that, talent matters, not just coaching schemes. Now, that's not me trying to, but yes, talent does matter. The answer was, we'll have to see about the fit. He said, I don't mind the talent. And this is another thing that I've kind of gotten to. It's like, in some ways, it's kind of a mismatch puzzle from a garage sale of multiple puzzles that just someone shook it and they came together, and there's like pieces that are missing. This piece doesn't, this window doesn't go into this house or whatever it is. And so we have to see what it is first, because depending on if the pieces fit or not, that will dictate a lot. And there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work on the coaching staff, a lot of work on the players, a lot of work from everyone. And then he has to assess it and make the decision at the end of the day. He also said that Ingram will be touch and go, but there's no immediate plans for load management. They just want to see how he handles the minutes in preseason and go from there. So that's about it. My only opinion is he was a little bit smug. Final thoughts before we get out of here.
No, I mean, there's a typical Bobby Webster type of presser. I think get used to it. I'm curious to see how often he actually does these throughout the year. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to do much.
Probably the trade deadline and then end of season.
If they actually do something.
Even if they don't, they like to do that where they toss him out and do, this is why we didn't do anything.
Oh man, as so forth. They can't wait for the season to start. I mean,
it's the best thing for them. I mean, it's at the point where someone was mad at me. They weren't mad at me, but they were mad and messaged me. They're like, "Did you see Open Gym did all this stuff?" And I'm like, "You realize that they just compiled all of the stuff from the season?"
Yes.
I was like, it was going to be a bad season. That's why they did the 30th anniversary.
Right.
Like, hey, Vince, hey, Terrence Ross, my boy.
I can't believe when I saw Terrence Ross come out. I was like, wait, Terrence get a piece? Oh, my God.
I mean, to be fair, they left him closer to the end. But, yeah, it was like, yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh, what a time. Um, yeah. There wasn't a lot of recent open gyms, so and the funny thing is that one thing to be on the lookout for now that the Bell guys are out is how do they continue on open gym in terms of the frequency, because just now we got the summer league update just now and it's like way later. I think that they need to ramp these things up and get back to better social media that they had um, a little bit under Masai, but I'll even go back before the Masai era ended. The Nick Nurse era had good media transparency from that perspective. And I know that some of the guys that ran the open gym went on to bigger and better things because of the success of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you hope that Rogers continues to invest in that product because it's good for the community, and I think it's good for the Raptors as well.
Very
Final
true.
thoughts?
Yeah, man, I'm just looking forward to getting the ball rolling, man.
Okay, in terms of preseason, let's just look at some interesting games really quickly. They first start off with the Denver Nuggets. I think that that's really interesting, and then they play Boston twice. I believe that's the end of preseason in terms of. I mean, if you really care about the Nets game, okay, you care about the Nets game. The Wizards game will be interesting because it's early on, and you'll get to see Trey Johnson. But really, I mean, I don't even know who's on the Kings anymore. But but really, it's the new look Denver. That I think that's going to be really exciting, and then also just to see Boston really early in the preseason to see like what are they thinking with Jaylen Brown. That I think is going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. I am looking forward to seeing what that looks like. There's some intriguing teams coming up, so they'll get a sense of like where they measure against some of the better teams in the league really quickly, even though it is preseason. See
Yeah.
what matchups look like real soon. I like that.
Now, is there anything else that you want to get off your chest before we go, or anything?
No, man. I
Okay, I
said,
didn't think so.
yeah, no. I was holding back my powder to see what's going to happen. I think the early part of the season will be really something to keep your focus on because we're going to, see how Ingram works with these units to find out more about the rotation, find out how Darko's going to match up certain players and with which lineup. So I think that's really where I'm going to be fascinated to see. I think this makes this preseason a little more interesting than say some other preseasons.
Definitely. And it sounds like they do plan on running a 11-man rotation. Apparently, that was the other thing, but we'll see how long that lasts.
Right.
What I will say is, he did outline that the coach and the organization always have to have buy-in. Also, he took ownership over some stuff, which is interesting. So he took ownership over Brandon Ingram, which is kind of juxtaposed with what we heard, which kind of coincides with what I thought, because I think that some of, with hindsight, I think some of those leaks were from management, as in real management, not him. Not the people that are on probation. So I mean, we will definitely see. I think the other thing is I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I just want to see these guys on the court. Even just seeing like the scrimmages and stuff like that, see how guys are taking it seriously. I think one of the interesting things from the recent Open Gym is, Jamal was challenging, the vets. He was like, they got to catch up to us in our work ethic and stuff like that. So that was interesting to see, and you want to see more of that. And Bobby did talk about the importance of competition on the roster, and I think to his point, there is competition at multiple spots, including with CMB being there. And I think that having guys look over their shoulder a little bit at times is good, because you don't want to get too comfortable. I mean, we see when guys get too comfortable, sometimes they don't even do their charity obligations. Beyond, you're always here most of the time, but where can people find you if you're not here?
Well, they can find, I'm
Catch me
here,
outside.
exactly. No, you can check me. I kind of been resurrected. Beyond the Locker Room has been resurrected. The channel, so check me out there on YouTube. Love the support in this case, guys. Take a look at it. It's a little more expansive from a sports standpoint. So we're talking some pigskin. We're talking, of course, hoops when the season starts kicking in. I was just talking about the big fight a few weeks ago, Canelo and Crawford. So get my thoughts on that. And of course, we're going to be talking some W as the playoffs are really, boy, they're getting heated, man. So who knows? There's always a little
I did see that actually.
yeah, it's getting spicy. So who knows what you'll see? But definitely you're definitely going to see a lot of hoops, a lot of football, and a lot of discussion overall about where things are going with some of these franchises, some of these sports. So yeah, man, check me out over at the Beyond the Locker Room channel. Thanks for the plug, man.
Yep, and just so people know, the only thing that I am going to plug myself today is beyond people liking, commenting, and subscribing is, again, the Blue Jays final. By the time this comes out, we might actually have seen the final game, but people tune in if you get a chance. I don't know. They're a relatively young team. I'm not saying that, they're going to win or anything, but, tune in and enjoy the journey for whatever it is, wherever it goes. Again, people seem to have this thing that apparently I'm very negative, but I would actually say that I'm quite positive.
I would say so.
There's very few days that go by that I'm not smiling. So yeah. All right, people, take care, and peace. Enjoy.